Hello and welcome to the new Friday Let's Play. For the next few weeks we're going to look at Tyto Ecology, a game that is basically an ecology simulator. I think that sums it up best. You play as this owl bot, which explains the Tuto in the name, and your job is to basically keep up an ecosystem. We have 4 ecosystems to pick from, and let's just dive right in here. The game is developed by Immersed Games and can be purchased on Steam. I will provide you with the link in the video description below, as usual. And yeah, let's just create a biome here. We can pick from 4 biomes, which all have distinct species. Some of them are shared, so you can get them in all the biomes, like ants, I believe, are ubiquitous, so you can find them everywhere. Mushrooms as well. Let's pick a rainforest. Can't go wrong with a rainforest. Here you have a bit basic information about the biomes, a bit of a picture how it could look at eventually. So yeah, let's make a rainforest the biome. And I'll explain you the game as we go. Just set up a countdown here. I decided to go without the tutorial today, which is something I usually don't do. But I believe in this case it's okay. How do we name this? If you can come up with a better name, you're free to suggest one. Call this the fern forest, because ferns are what we're going to place a lot at first. So let's deal with the interface quickly. We have the notification thing here. Obviously this is empty right now because there is nothing to notify us of. And this will tell you when something has died, when a complete group has died, when something is starving or at low health, so you might want to look at it. It will tell you if the detritus level of your biome is getting higher, so you need something to do about that. And it tells you when something has indeed reproduced. That is only animals, it doesn't tell you about plants reproducing. Okay, here's the name of your biome. You can't change that after the initial naming. Here is the life meter of your biome. By the way, the game controls with WASD, so WASD, Q and E for getting higher and lower. You can also mouse wheel, and you can use shift to go faster. That is the basic control here. So yeah, this will start popping in as soon as we plant actual life. This green stuff here is just coloring. It's no actual grass. You have energy and you have Tuto coins. Now, a word about that. The game is not a freemium game. You don't buy those with real life money. You basically earn those as you play along, and those are used to unlock stuff. Energy is used to place things on the in the biodome, which, by the way, I think is pretty beautiful. I also like this skybox. This is also your only way of telling the time. So you're floating in... apparently you're floating in the sea. Okay, what was that? Right. Energy is used to place things. It's limited, so you can't completely... I'm going to say save your biome from destruction. Like, you can't go and place 1 million prey animals just to keep your predators alive, or you can't just place an entire forest on your own. And I think that's a good way to keep the game at least a bit challenging. It replenishes quite fast. And the Tuto coins are earned by achieving things. There's a whole lot of achievements. Well, let's look into that. Here. So place 3 plants. They're tracked across your profile. I actually made an own profile for that, for for this Let's Play, just because I think it's best to show off the game from a fresh start. The energy is stored for every biodome. You can have up to 6 biodomes for one profile. This might be increased as they release new biomes. So this is stored for your biome, and those are basically you have an account for Tuto coins that is linked to your profile, so those are shared among the biodomes. So I could buy species here with the coins I earned in another biodome on this profile. Those buttons are pretty much self-explanatory. You have your pause button, your fast forward, and your options menu. There's a max time away setting here. Basically, the game simulates passage of time as you don't play it. 5 minutes off away time are, I think, 1 week. So time passes on as you go, as you're not there. And for the beginning, we'll set this to 1 year, because that will... It says here you have achieved Tyto Ecology Master and you should test your might. It's actually okay in the beginning, because we're going... I don't want to quit here. This is something I would like them to fix. Like, this should just get me out of the options menu and not out of the game, because that's what those buttons are for. Okay, anyway. This is like how much time you want to pass when you're not playing. As I said, we want 1 year because I want the initial plants we're placing now to spread. The rest is not that big. Like, once you place animals, I would recommend you go down and go to 6 or even 3 months, just so you have more control over it. Because if you have animals, the ecosystem gets a lot more fickle, a lot more difficult to handle. Because they might just completely wipe out a certain species, and you'll have to replace it or do something about this or that and place new things. Okay. Yeah, those options are some things we're not going to look into. I have to escape. Yes, save them. Oh, apparently you can use that as... Yeah. Okay, fine, I'll retract that. So, we have a biome here. On the bottom we have 3 buttons. This is the biodex. It's like the Pokédex, but with actually useful information. Like, you have the interactions here, which, for example, for the agouti, tells you that this is an herbivore, which is very useful to know, so you know what they will need in their vicinity. You will have its role in the ecosystem, you will have some real-life information on the agouti, which is, at the moment, nothing that really impacts the game that much. You have the social relationship and some factoids about them here. Most of those don't matter here. Like, even if it tells you, for example, this species always lives near water. Okay, that's not a big deal in the rainforest here, but you don't actually have to place it near water. Like, I could place a frog on the other end of the map from water, and it would still thrive. They left that out of the simulation. Okay, we have this. There's a map screen here. Those zones are unlocked with Tuto coins as well, so we'll have to unlock those as we go along. Every time you unlock a new zone, you also get more energy. And you can look for certain creatures here. As the game goes along, you will have a lot of, for example, plants that reproduce, plants are eaten, and it gets pretty crowded here on the game screen proper. So this is how you keep track of that. And you can see, okay, is this kind of plant still around in this part of the biodome, or is it still around in general? Because that's definitely useful to know. Okay, we looked at the achievement screen already. So let's make use of the big middle button here. This is, by the way, for skipping time if you really want to. That's useful, but I think it's more like a very, very late game way to just spend your coins. There is already one species present in our biome, and that is fish. The word about the fish population is it's shared across the entire biome. So, if we look at our map again, all this water body here shares the same 50 fish. And those will replenish at a very, very slow rate. You can use energy to replenish them instantly, but fish are not supposed to be the sole food source of anything. Like, you're not supposed to use them as the thing that keeps your predators alive. They can be like a last-ditch effort for a few weeks, but they can't keep the biome alive on their own. So let's make use of the option in the middle here. And this button is basically your main way of interacting with the game. And you want to start with placing some ferns, or some plants in general. You have producers, you have consumers, and you have decomposers. Okay, so we can press spacebar to make this group look different. Let's place some fern along the river here. Like this. And maybe someone on here as well. Yeah, we'll get the rewards. You can also save those for later if you want. And I like that you can now, that's actually a new feature they introduced. I like you can now switch through those groups. Because before, if you wanted to have like a certain shape of that cluster, you would have to just place it somewhere else, and now you can just hit space and it does what you want. We'll not place more, but we have to place some moths here. Animals have a certain territory. This is a territory in which the animal will roam and do its thing. That means it will be... this is the territory in which it can get eaten if this territory interacts with the territory of something that that eats this creature. And in case of pollinators, this is the territory in which plants will get pollinated. Let's click at that quickly. So moths are a bit boring as species because they don't have the full creature page. Insects are kind of simplified here. They only have a population and a health meter, which is essentially the same. So once the population goes down, the animal territory here will be removed. Health meter is important for detritus, which is something we'll see here. Detritus is produced kind of in the background by everything you have on the map. Like every piece of plant, every animal will have like droppings. There will be dead leaves that will basically fall off every now and then. There will be carcasses, of course. So all that stuff is going to accumulate detritus. A bit of it is okay, like detritus level 1 and 2 don't affect things, but if you get into 3 and up, your creatures will get sick, their health will start dropping, and obviously they will die, creating more detritus. So it's kind of a vicious cycle there. In order to prevent that, we'll have to place decomposers. Let's do that quickly. I want some mushrooms over here. And it often helps to have 2 different decomposers because those will be eaten by certain species. And if we have, for example, an insectivore, it will target those moths and ants, but it will leave the mushrooms alone. Also, I believe the amount of decomposing they do is... oh, hooray, we got an achievement. Is not depending on how many are left in that group. So even one ant in this population will do the entire decomposing that the entire colony can do. So as long as this group is there, we're fine. I think I often overdo it with the decomposers, but I prefer that because why not? Okay, now let's look at the plant here. Plants have a health meter, we've seen that. They have leaves and sometimes they have fruit as well. The health will drop if all the leaves are eaten. Well, actually, I believe the plant will be completely removed. At least those small plants. There are also trees in the game. Those will not disappear once all their leaves have been eaten. But they will drop health, so they will eventually die if all the leaves are eaten constantly. They will often also have fruit. That will show here. Biodex, that's self-explanatory. You can just look at the biodex page for this kind of thing. What was alright? Third. Detritus, and this is something plants will only have. It tells you which flowering phase or which vegetational stage this thing is on. Right now, for ferns, there are only 2 stages. Stasis, which means the plant is basically nothing. It just sprouts leaves and that's it. And flowering, which means it is ready to be pollinated. And will spawn, I think at the end of the flowering period, it will spawn offspring. Those will appear here. They will have less leaves. Okay, we got an achievement. The first week is over. Hooray! We'll keep that for later. Shut up, cell phone. And that concludes the first episode of the Let's Play of Tyto Ecology. The guys at Immersed Games, by the way, are greatly active in the Steam forums. You can report bugs there, you can request features there. They discuss everything with the users, even if it's been brought up like a bazillion times. That's something I would personally grow very, very impatient with, because I hate having to repeat myself. And, well, they said it's fine, so they're absolutely great, really. Also, they have allowed everybody to stream this, let's play this, talk about this, share images with this, do expressional dances featuring the game, I don't know. They allowed everything, they're happy with the publicity, and yeah, thank you for that, guys. Also, something, is that a mushroom here? There's a bright spot in that. Yep, that is a mushroom. Mushrooms will pop up all across your biome, or all across this territory. They are not limited to only here in the center, although they do seem to have a preference for that. But they can grow in this entire territory, which I guess helps them survive, because once this group is eaten, it will be gone. That's also something that I have suggested for the game to be fixed. Also, mushrooms and insects don't reproduce, which is one of my major gripes with the game, because the things that eat mushrooms and insects do reproduce, so you will have those increasing in numbers and increasing and increasing, but the things they're eating don't reproduce as much. Like the groups will fill up if they are eaten, but they don't fill up that fast, and eventually they will be outnumbered and out-eaten, I guess. And that's why I would prefer this to be possible, or why I would prefer those to be actually reproducing as well. It's been brought up with the developers countless times, and they said they were looking into ways of getting it done. A thing why they don't want to do this right now is that they kind of want to have a certain way of failing the game still being there. And what I want to say here. And that means that you basically need to have that means that if those are eaten, they don't want the biodome to constantly replenish itself in that way, because they need those pollinators in order to get your plants to reproduce, which you then need to get your animals to eat and so on. And they just don't want basically life to spread into an area that is lifeless without your intervention. And they want the biodome to collapse if you actually skip a year and like your pollinators are eaten a week into that year and everything goes down from there. Which I can understand. Sorry about that. But as I said, I prefer to have the pollinators being able to spread. Anyway, that concludes the first episode. I'm going to do more biomes. I'm also not going to do anything off camera in this game. So I'll see you next time. Bye!